person to full health. And so a little bit of history. In 1964, physics teacher Robert Ettinger, he published a book which promoted the concept of cryonics to the larger public. And so in 1972, the Alcor Life Foundation came into existence. On July 16, 1976, they performed their first human cryopreservation. And so there are a couple steps involved with this. And so the first step, the patient must be legally dead. And by legally dead, it's like when their heart stops beating and the doctor pronounces them dead. But for clarification, a legal death doesn't necessarily mean that the patient is dead, because according to cardiac surgeon, oh my god, I forgot her name. But according to this one cardiac surgeon I had an interview with, she defines death as when the cells stop metabolizing and when they stop maintaining their membranes, and so everything's just shut down to the molecular level. And so after that point, wherever the patient has died, the hospital will contact the Alcor Foundation saying, oh, one of your patients has died. So what they do is that they would ice down the body until a couple degrees above freezing, which is 0 degrees Celsius. And so what that does is it slows down the metabolism and it curbs the brain's need for oxygen. So if your metabolism is low, your body needs less oxygen, and that will lower the chances of brain death or brain damage. And so after that is done, the femoral artery is cut and they connect the body to a portable heart-lung machine. So during transportation, the body will be kept alive. And then so the Alcor Life Foundation facility is located in Arizona. And then so they are usually transported by air. And once they get there, the patient, they will remove the heart-lung machine, the portable one, and they will replace it with a larger, heavy-duty one. And what this machine does is it kind of circulates the blood through the body and the oxygenates the blood. And so this keeps the body cells alive, and it helps prevent the brain damage because it brings oxygen through the brain and throughout the whole body. And what this also does, this machine, it helps disperses the cryoprotectant. And so what this is a kind of liquid substance, and it preserves the cells. And so it's almost like an antifreeze, because eventually the body will be cooled down to about negative 196 degrees Celsius. And so at that point, without the cryoprotectant, the cells would rupture and you would have brain death and everything would be gone. And so this cryoprotectant is an antifreeze. So it lowers the metabolism, it curbs the brain's need for oxygen, resulting in minimal or no brain damage if the patient was ever to be revived. And so after that step, the patient is transferred to a cooling room, and the body is cooled further down to negative 130 degrees Celsius, and this is done with computer-controlled fans. And so that happens pretty rapidly, and then after that, the patients are placed head down in containers that are cooled down to negative 196 degrees Celsius for long-term storage. And then so there's liquid nitrogen in these tanks, which keeps the temperature cool. But the thing is, the bodies never touch this liquid nitrogen, or else it would just completely freeze off and there'd be no point. And so the bodies are kind of suspended over this liquid nitrogen. And the reason why they're suspended head down is because if the tank was ever to be punctured and the liquid nitrogen would be leaking out, the head would be kept cool, and so that would prevent any kind of brain damage or injury. And so the cost for it is approximately $200,000, but insurance can help cover some of the costs. As of today, Alcor has 113 patients, or people who have already been frozen, and over 900 members waiting to be cryopreserved. And so their most recent patient was preserved January 17th of this year. Her name was Kim Suozi. She was 23 years old, and she died of brain cancer. And so she raised the funds all on her own, and she got preserved. And a couple of facts. You can cryopreserve your pets, and it depends on the weight and the size of your pet, but that's doable. And just for clarification, these patients are not dead, so these scientists aren't raising the dead or anything. In other words, I guess you can say these patients are in like a hibernation mode, because all their cells are being kept alive artificially, and the whole time they're in this tank, they are still connected to a heart-lung machine to continue the circulation, to continue feeding the brain and the cells oxygen. And something I found quite shocking is that some Christian pastors actually support this. There's a lot of controversy. Some people believe it's unnatural, it's against God's will, but other pastors say that, well, it's a good thing because we've been trying to learn how to preserve life and lengthen life. And so there's a lot of controversy, but some Christian pastors actually do believe in this and support this. And I've got most of my information from the Alcor website. No, actually I've gotten all my information from the Alcor website. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. I'm sure you guys have got questions. Rita?
I have like a couple.